I'm here to tell you a love story. But this isn't your average love story. It isn't boy meets girl or boy meets boy or however that ends up. And they fall in love, they buy a little house in the suburbs, they drink a lot of espresso, they watch their stock portfolios climb. It's not that kind of love story. It's arguably a more important one. And I say this because I have a love story quite similar to that. I'm married to a wonderful woman. We have 3 amazing children. We have a little house in the suburbs. We love espresso. We have a terrible stock portfolio, but I'm not going to get into that. But that love story would not be possible if not for what I believe is a deeper and richer and more important love story. And that's the story of how I learned to love myself. And I'm telling you this today because loving yourself is the foundation for everything. It's the foundation for all of our relationships. It's a foundation for our entire lives, because the better you care about yourself, the more you care about everything else that goes on in your life. So what is loving yourself? Well, loving yourself is tied into confidence, it's tied into self-esteem. It's tied into basically everything about us, how we perceive ourselves. Think of it as a foundation, like I said, for our entire lives. Think of it as a cement foundation, for example. The problem is that when things happen to us, we can get chips and cracks in that foundation. And those can cause big problems. But it doesn't start off like that. When I was a little kid, I would run up to people in the park and go, "Hi, I'm Amanda, let's be friends. Let's go down the slide together." Because I had confidence, very young. But it slowly got taken away. It actually started well before I could speak. My biological father left when I was a baby. I was 6 months old when he walked out. I've never met him. I will probably never meet him. What that does to a child is devastating, because what it says to a child, because we are so self-absorbed at that age, that's just the nature of being children, is that there's something wrong with us. And so I walked around for a long time asking myself what I did wrong. Why wasn't I lovable enough? Why couldn't he stay? Was it something I did? And I know now that that's not the case, but that's how it started. That was my first chip in my wall. The next thing that happened was school. I was bullied terribly in school. At first, when I was in elementary school, no kids wanted to play with me, except one. I had one friend. And every once in a while, she would think out loud to herself, you know, if I just stop playing with you, then maybe other kids would want to be my friend. And this terrified me. This was abandonment all over again, just like my father. And so I would make her little cards. And in the card, I would say, "Please keep being my friend." And I would tape some of my allowance money in it sometimes. So yes, I actually paid someone to be my friend. When I was in grade 3, 4, I paid somebody. And that goes to show where my self-esteem was at already. High school was no better. When I was in high school, some of the kids thought that it would be really fun to give me a catchy name. There was a dog on TV when we were kids called Benji. I'm definitely dating myself right now. Benji was a cute little dog. He went on lots of adventures. He was in lots of movies, but he was a dog. And I had pimples. And so they thought it would be great to call me Zenji. And they would follow me down the hall going, "Zenji, Zenji, hey Zenji," and bark. Some of the guys also thought it would be hilarious to ask me out in front of their friends. It didn't matter what my answer was, and they definitely didn't want to go out with me. They did it to get a laugh. And it was humiliating. My high school career at that school ended the day that I was set on fire in front of it. Literally set on fire in front of the school. A couple of girls thought it would be really funny to follow me with a can of hairspray and then throw matches at my back until I went up. And I did go up. Thankfully, I remembered stop, drop, and roll, and I did that. And I was okay. Physically, I was okay. But emotionally, I was not okay. And I had to leave that school after that. I couldn't go back. When I was 14, I had my first serious relationship with a boy who was a little bit older than me. And he came over when my parents weren't home. It was New Year's Eve. And he had had a little bit to drink. And he wanted something from me that I didn't want to give him. I wasn't ready to give him. And he took it anyway. And so my first intimate encounter with somebody was a sexual assault. And so chip, chip, chip went that wall, down and down. So what do when your wall is crumbling, when your foundation is crumbling at your feet? Well, hopefully you do the right things, but I didn't know what those were. I didn't know how to get help then. I didn't think I was worthy of help, frankly. And so I abused substances, drugs, alcohol. I started to smoke because I thought maybe I could fit in a little bit there. It's a really bad idea. I ate and ate and ate. I binged ate food. I used it as a drug. And on the other end of that scale, I developed an eating disorder where I stopped eating. I exercised profusely, or I didn't take care of myself at all. There was no balance, there was no in between. It was a really bad time. One of the ways that self-esteem can get into our every fiber is through body image. Body image is a really easy way for poor self-esteem issues to take hold. It's especially common amongst girls and women, but it also happens with boys. It happens with a lot of people. I hated the way I looked. Hated the way I looked. I avoided mirrors. I ignored scales. Or I used them as a tool to punish myself. I did not want to go shopping or swimming or go to dances or be in anyone's wedding. And I spent a lifetime like this. I just turned 40, and I spent probably the first 37 years of my life doing exactly this. From the time I realized that I did not feel beautiful or worthy or lovable, I hid. And what a sad place to be. So not much of a love story right now. I get it. It's a little depressing. I promise you it gets better right now. Every story, every love story has a catalyst. It has something that happens to you that makes you go, oh, I see things differently now. And the love really starts. This is my daughter. She's 13 now, but when she was 11, she told us a really big secret that she had been keeping in, something she was terrified to tell us. When Alexis was born, we were told she was a boy. And for the first 11 years, we thought of her as our son. And finally, on a cold night in February, about 2.5 years ago, Alexis sent us an email saying, I am a girl trapped in a boy's body. And more than anything, I need to be that girl. Please understand. Please help me. Don't be mad. Well, of course we couldn't be mad. We couldn't be mad. We had to go to her, so we did. We crawled into her bed and where she was crying, and we held her and we talked to her. And I knew then that I had to do everything I could to help this child through. When you look at statistics for trans youth, the self-harm rates are really high. Depression rates are high, anxiety. There are a lot of struggles, bullying and self-esteem and body image in a way that perhaps I can't even understand because I'm not trans. But I do know what it's like not to like yourself. And as I left her room that night, I realized I need to do more for this child. Because how can I teach her to be strong and confident and love herself and stand up for herself and feel she's worthy if I don't believe things about me? I don't believe that stuff about me yet. I can't model that. And so my daughter, who I love unconditionally, made me learn to unconditionally love myself. And there are a few steps to this. First, I had to redefine my ideas of beauty. Beauty, we often think of magazine covers, movie stars, famous pop stars, etc. One particular body type, one particular look. And I don't meet that criteria. Most of us don't and will never meet that criteria. But beauty is perspective-based. And so I had to choose to change my perspective on beauty because I really wanted to feel beautiful so I could emulate that for her. I could show her that. And so I started looking at beauty in different ways. Sure, some of it is physical. We have attraction to people. I find my wife beautiful, absolutely. But there's more to her than that, just like there's more to me. It's not just the package. In fact, it's arguably something that comes from deep inside us and flows outwards. And so I started to look at the way I treat people. I made a list, like how do I treat people when they're having a bad day? Do I help people when I see they need help? Do I smile at people when I walk down the street, or do I glare at them, or do I ignore them, or do I just pretend I'm checking a text? And I do all of those things. I'm always somebody who reaches out and helps. And that makes me beautiful. I really believe that. The way I present myself flows outwards, and I try to do better with my life. That is beautiful. And I would argue a lot of us are beautiful because we do that. Another thing I had to do was start taking better care of myself, because I wasn't. Because when you don't care about someone, why would you take care of someone, right? So I started to take better care of me. I started putting aside all those messages. And in order to heal the cracks in my foundation, I would do things that showed my self-love. And every time I would do something that I would do for a friend if he or she were having a bad day, or for my partner, or for my kids, and I would turn that in and do that for me, that made the wall stronger. So now I exercise, not because I'm trying to look a certain way, but because I really like the way it feels. It makes me feel strong and confident. I stand taller, I feel better. I take myself shopping. I bought myself this dress because I could, because I liked it. And being able to go in and try something on in front of a mirror goes to show how far I've come. I have a better relationship with food. I have made peace with it. I eat for nutrition. I eat because it's pleasurable. I don't say no to things unless I really don't want them. And I don't overindulge to the point of punishing myself or trying to numb my feelings like I used to. It's this really healthy, great balance I've arrived at. I don't diet. I never diet. I just enjoy life. I take care of myself. This young lady has taught me to love me. What a gift. And when I started to do this, I was doing it entirely for her. Until one day I realized a lot of it I was doing for me. And that's when I realized I really do love myself. And this is a really good thing. So I've given her love and support, and she's given me so much back in return. It's amazing. She's doing so much better, and I'm doing so much better, and we are growing and learning together. Today, part of what I do is I work as an LGBTQ advocate, and my entire job is to convince society to accept people for exactly who they are. And I feel that I can do that far more authentically because I finally accept myself for exactly who I am. And so as a member of that community, I'm showing people that it is okay to accept us as we are. And so this is my love story. This is how I took this broken, damaged foundation and built it into something beautiful with a little help from a very brave 11-year-old girl. I thank you for listening, and I really, really hope that something that I said today resonates with you. Thank you.